storytelling and visual storytelling, why it's worth so much money, why it's a focus, not only for me, but it seems to be the advertising world does spend the most on videography, opposed to any other kind of advertising or marketing. So it's obviously effective, and I think it has in part to do with the fact that storytelling since the dawn of time, as he wrote in a post last night, I don't know that it's changed a lot. There's a few things that really create good content, right? Education, your entertainment, your inspiring, or, I mean, really, that pretty much covers it. Why else would you go about telling a story, really? I mean, it's like they say, no story ought to be told without a lesson, no lesson to be told without a story, right? I think in large part that's primarily because how else do you remember? See, I, at least growing up, was relatively unable to focus. I was, to coin the term you choose, but you lose me pretty quickly if you weren't really engaging and entertaining. And so that was apparent. I couldn't read, so the visual part here really lends itself well. And so the teachers that I did come to appreciate that were able to keep me engaged there's a few things that stood out, and certainly they knew how to tell a story, convey a lesson, and make it engaging and entertaining. And that was what clicked with me as being so very important. And I believe it translates all the way down the Bible, as perhaps you would come to understand some of the lessons there, not to be taken literally, but perhaps through song and before reading was readily available. Visual storytelling was like someone standing here today telling you as it were, but having put enough of say a catch or a hook on there so that you would pass that down on to, say, your generations. The lessons there were what was important, maybe not so much your entertainment, while that was what kept you able to convey that story once more. So, as it were with businesses, I appreciate the opportunity to be involved. I think it's really quite a story. If you were to ask me some of the lofty expectation I'd like to see and have and be a part of is finding startups that haven't yet already excelled or gotten significant funding, and so to go with it, really, right, and make that difference, blaze that trail. And I, by the way, haven't been back to Alaska either in 15 years. I do hope to go back. That would be a dream come true. I guess in large part, historically, education, content, it's all kind of in and of the same. I tend to think that intelligence is probably one of the most valuable things there is. I don't know how apparent that is to those of you here, but I have in the past explained to others that the good way to represent this is if you're the captain of a ship heading across the Atlantic, having just left the Cape Florida, say, if you hadn't any idea was a couple hundred miles off the coast this time of year, perhaps if you had, you wouldn't have sunk the ship and everybody died, right? And everything. I don't know if, like, even today, if you're working with satellites and infrastructure and various things to convey the communications, that is the intelligence that can be life or death for somebody. I can tell you too many stories to bore you with them today, but here's one, for instance. We were on a mining trail in northern, up right around the Arctic Circle, so right about where the tree line stops, right? And this is how valuable I think, intelligence in conveying this this was life or death. And so we had, early in the day, we were mountain biking on this mining trail. We had a four-wheeler crew pass us, and it was a family, a little boy, girl, riding with mom and dad. So three-wheelers, and there was a spot later, way later in the afternoon, as the sun never goes down, so it may have been pretty late actually. And a spot where it cut into the bank, right? Because it was so steep, this trail, I call it skirting, in order to keep your wheeler upright, you need to have a flatter surface. And so that side, though, it would be really very steep, right? And we did come across someone who had come close, gone over, and so you could picture it's a lot of rocks, and if you took a little bit of a jump and you walked off the edge, you'd be a minute before you hit the roof. You'd go a little ways. And mom and daughter were sprawled out partway down. The family was distraught, unable to really do a thing about it because her back was clearly, she wasn't getting up off the rock. So they were trying their best to keep her calm and comfortable, with no real hope of a way out, right? Well, we had a ham radio, and as ham radios are capable of conveying what you can't with a cell phone, right? And so this being one of those situations where you really can't put a price on content like that, right? So in Alaska, the life flight, I think you call it here, is that right? Okay, well, the military does that up there. The Black Hawks, they fly it out of Fort Wainwright. And a friend actually, mother flew. So anyway, they get their hours, but you use the ham radio, contact state police relays the message on it. As the story goes, they did put too much jet fuel on board, so they had to burn a lot of it off in order to safely land and, take on more weight and get her out. We were part of that rescue. This is really just to say that sometimes I believe historically speaking, the storytelling was this important if you were to have prevented needless suffering through family or community. And so I do truly believe that perhaps a pencil or someone with a good story and a purpose in order to convey the right information. I've said the pencil is probably the most it has caused the most change. It is the biggest tool we've ever leveraged as a species, I do believe. And that's in order to document, tell, and perhaps science in its fine-tuned specific abilities. It's important. So I guess really, if I had to touch on like one more thing, it's like 8 more seconds. It was a humbling experience. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed being up there. My education came differently. I'm learning all of this in real time, but I don't know that it takes a rocket scientist to tell a story. I happen to know how to use the camera okay. The marketing is new, but I have been an entrepreneur for some time. I've had a business, and I've come to know a lot of other smaller contractors and businesses of that sort. So I'm certainly not having had the experience like some with larger corporate companies. I guess really, if it were, I would have asked, what was the last great story that you heard? What was it about? Who was it that told it? What made it special? What story would you convey if you had the opportunity? My uncle's written 5 or 6 books, and they're all non-fiction. I didn't, but a few years back, recognize how significant that is to leave something behind once you are gone. Perhaps your life your life you spent studying in hopes to convey and relay that on to somebody so that they can pick up where you left. I think storytelling, I'd love to become better at it, but I tend to just not But, yeah, so hopefully we can all work together and make stories.
So Cam, how do people get in touch with you? You have a website out, right?
Yeah, we would, like,